Hello, I wanted to talk about orthorexia today. Orthorexia can sometimes be kind of a misunderstood type of eating disorder, and I do want to be clear, it's not actually a diagnosis. Typically, the diagnosis is actually going to be either anorexia nervosa or OSFED. It might fall under bulimia nervosa, just kind of depending on other behaviors, that kind of thing, but orthorexia is really a type of restrictive or avoidant kind of eating disorder that has a lot to do with an obsessiveness with health. And so a lot of times clients I work with, they're not necessarily restrictive in terms of calories, perhaps. They may not even be underweight, but they're very restrictive or avoidant of types of foods. And so for example, they might be super obsessed with like clean eating. That's kind of like a buzzword. Or they're really avoidant of, like fried foods or dairy or something like that. They might be vegan, something like that. And so there's a lot of obsessiveness with it. And obsessiveness can still be a little bit like vague. Okay, like, well, how are we defining that? And as a therapist, I really look at what's big picture and how much is this relationship with food or this relationship with health ultimately getting in the way of this person's life. And so what I notice with a lot of my clients who really kind of have more orthorexic kinds of tendencies is there's a lot of rigidity in their life that gets in the way of relationships. It gets in the way maybe of work, it might be like, because there's all this obsessiveness, most thoughts during the day kind of take on the realm of food or health or body or whatever. And so there's a hard time concentrating at work. There's a hard time connecting with other people. So I think where this comes in with therapy is kind of just under that word, there's a lot of rigidity there. So, kind of just some things there in therapy, we kind of address it from the point of psychological flexibility, and we maybe try and increase that definition of health to kind of part ways with just certain things with food or exercise, and we try to encompass, well, what about our social health? What about our spiritual health? What about our mental and emotional health? And at the end of the day, obsessiveness just in general isn't good for our mental health. And so we'll kind of try to broaden the scope of that definition and try and engage more flexibility. So it might be helping someone to learn how to have some spontaneity with food so they can, enjoy the food that they are serving their kids, or go out to a restaurant with their girlfriends and be able to go to any kind of restaurant and order what sounds good. It might also be, most of the time I would venture to say, it's a referral to a dietitian who can help with maybe a redefinition of health when it comes to food and body and that kind of thing. And so another way that it comes up in sessions with my clients is actually alternate behaviors that can result. So sometimes with orthorexia, like I said, they're not actually underweight, and so they may not even believe or feel that they are malnourished, but I still have a lot of clients who maybe struggle with binge eating and purging kind of as a result of some of that malnourishment. So maybe that level of rigidity and obsessiveness is really not sustainable. The body needs a variety of nutrients that comes in different ways, and so it might be addressing the binge eating and purging that comes as a result of some of that, and encouraging the flexibility with food in terms of the relationship with food. And then a dietitian can kind of really go into that in even more detail and kind of redefine health in a different way. So those are some of the things that kind of come up with orthorexia. It's a different kind of eating disorder. It's a little bit harder. I kind of talked about this on Facebook a little bit, but there's a little bit of a harder buy-in for that person, because I think in our culture and our society, we are surrounded by messages that clean eating is the best, or keto or vegan, or, oh, these people are so healthy, or it could be this person who exercises a lot. Oh, I wish I had that person's discipline. We call all of that very egocentric kind of thing. So those responses from society and our friends and our family like feeds our ego. And so sometimes this is hard working on eating disorder recovery as we're trying to help someone establish more flexibility there and not focusing on the obsessiveness with those things, and maybe having rest days, or maybe changing up how they exercise, or maybe why they exercise. And some of that they maybe don't feel like they get as much compliments or affirmations from people, or maybe they have an identity they feel like they have to keep up with, you know. So this stuff can be really hard working on eating disorder recovery in that sense. But I think it's really important just to address it overall. Eating disorders present in so many different forms. It can get in the way of life and our overall health in ways that maybe we don't even think about. And so therapy can be a really wonderful way just to kind of have an open conversation about some of that in a safe space, and kind of explore what are the roles of rigidity versus flexibility in our lives, and how can we do this and still be healthy physically, and kind of look at what that means. So, all right, well, I hope that this was helpful for you guys. We'll talk to you soon.